You know, I have to ponder why these subdued artists of old are re-recording and re-releasing their older material. But I covered this on a previous video where I went on a tirade for 20 minutes. Instead, I will rant for a mere 5 minutes about record labels here because, well, as you can see here, unlike Incubus, the band doesn't own the record, but rather Nuclear Blast does, and that means a slice of the pie goes to those fat cats. Hi people, and hello my Chili con Carne crew, it's Chili here, the man who produces Iron From My Eyes, doing a 5-minute review on 96 Bitter Beans' return to Hellview.
Oh shit, here we go again.
You said it, CJ Meme, and yes, we are here again for another artist re-recording their music, but alas, we have a small twist on this effort. First, to catch you up to speed, 96 Bitter Beans is some of the former members from CKY, so now you know that, you know what is going to be expected coming up. For this album, we have a CKY best of playlist that was re-recorded, and 96 Bitter Beans only focused on the first 3 albums. Sorry Carver City, but you will have to take a ride with the Phoenix and savour this date for obvious reasons, and those reasons rhyme with contributing fartists. 9 tracks were picked with a runtime of 32 minutes, and some of these songs have been remastered for what feels like the 3rd time in less than 25 years. I'm just thankful Rio wasn't done for the 20th time on this effort. Seriously, how many remixes do we require of that track? The music on offer does feel a bit more beefy, in particular on any songs found on the first 2 albums, which were, let's face it, a pretty shit-ass produced effort. But if you look past the production, little has changed on here. There aren't any different arrangements of compositions or really any variations to the tunes on offer, and what variations were present were so minor that they are not even worth mentioning. That is, except for one glaring change, and that is of course the vocals. Usually as people grow older, their voice grows slightly. A voice may become more gravelly or change resonance, and this is very prominent in singers. However, the change that is on hand here is in quite the opposite direction to what you would expect. I don't know if the earlier albums altered his voice to begin with, but on this new album, it's almost like he shifted registry into a higher disposition. It's just odd, and really stood out to the point that I had to question if the band had employed a new singer. Please tell me you heard it and that I'm not going insane. However, there seems to have been something lost in the remastered efforts compared to the originals, and I think it was the band's raw sound that the early records had that made them so endearing and unique to begin with. It's a mix of metal meets DIY punk crossover, and its use in that era of skate videos or CKY movies is so ingrained in my youth, it is sometimes hard to disengage the simulation. This record could be, on one side of the argument, completely useless, and more an exercise in cashing in one's egos than appeasing the fans. Perhaps one of the most interesting aspects about this album is of course the re-recording and its legality behind it. Considering how this band came into existence out of spite almost, and the original band members of CKY pretty much hating each other at this point, it makes me wonder if lawsuits are going to be thrown around to stop this album, or if it is allowed because of various other reasons. Does this record have to pay out the other parties, or is it considered a separate entity? These are questions that are very much out of my realm, as I am not a lawyer, so if anyone's a contract lawyer out there, please weigh in at any time. There are so many angles to this record's existence that I don't even know where to begin. As far as the Spotify angle, Spotify makes what Taylor Swift has made over her lifetime in a month. Well, I've covered that on the Incubus review not too long ago, but the intriguing aspect is how this re-recording is released under Nuclear Blast Records and not the band themselves, and this seems to be a bit of a growing trend when it comes to Nuclear Blast and their label, especially when you consider what Cavalera Conspiracy have done in the past, because lo and behold, on the same day of this recording, Cavalera Conspiracy have released the new record, or rather re-released their album Schizophrenia, and it's like they had done with the year prior with Morbid Visions. And Sepultura is a band again with a similar problem, with a common thread linking them: Nuclear Blast Records. That's right, all of these bands come tying into this one record label, so it's like this weird intricate web where the boiling point is this record label. Now I'm not sure if Nuclear Blast are acting as the middlemen or the legal umbrella, or perhaps have some kind of silver-tongued devil convincing all these artists that they can offer free studio time in exchange for distribution right. But I feel like the artists are getting the short end of the stick here. Maybe all the headaches involved with legality legalities, contracts and royalties is just too much for these musicians who would prefer to, I guess, just write music and play their stuff for the fans, and that seems honourable enough if not for the short-sighted nature of being stuck in a 7-year contract or whatever it is just for a one-off tour and a chance to sell some updated merch. I just feel that this is an outrage to the musicians, the ones that are hard at work writing and recording and touring, and of course are just getting blindsided by the labels again, in a day and an age when record labels and distribution is reduced to merely uploading content to the proper sites and telling them when to release it. Of course I disregarded many components like the touring side or many of the physical media and shipping, but in today's age the production is significantly lower than what it once was 25 years ago, and mostly done online rather than in stores. While I'm not too familiar with how record stores operate, and if anyone who works in a record label could clarify the following statement, but I would wager a bet that the stores are the ones who primarily place an order and not the label pushing the sale, with exception to maybe the big stores. But let's face it, they won't be stocking these albums in Walmart anytime soon. In this day and age, record labels have been on the decline, and to that I say good fucking riddance. It's time for a shake-up on the ones who shake down the pillars of the community. Of course, not all the labels are of course of the sanguine affliction, and with Nuclear Blast back in these bands as mentioned earlier, I would like to hold hope that they are looking at the talent, but in the end, they are a business, and they are here to make money. That's just how business operates at the end of the day, and maybe this, along with many other projects, are set up to help create some funds to gamble on up-and-coming artists, but that's a whole new hole to visit. After all, it appears that some of the big labels have turned their attention away from bands to focus on the viral breakthroughs, and of course have given rise to the TikTok musicians, and their songs whose runtime would rival a few tracks by and it makes me feel the same way when I hear the music by either of these genres. Instead, 96 Quite Bitter Beans could be benefiting from this as well, with a small amount of revenue being generated to go to the band members, and they deserve it of course. As Punk Rock MBA said, they are the spiritual successor to CKY, and while Darren Miller seems a bit of a dick, he did well on of course their last album, Synergy Restored, which I reviewed, and of course if you are curious, well here's a little snippet from that review.
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Only a master of evil, gods.
Well, I'm not going to rant for as long as I did on the episode based on Morning View by Incubus and the issues surrounding Spotify. Instead, I've had my moment of grand delusion and my tirade is over, so let's give this album a score and get on with it. Overall, I would give this album a score of 7.5 million chilies on the spicy scale, with my favourite songs being Triple Manic State, Dressed in Decay, and Sink into Underground. You know, for an album that is essentially a re-recording of the best songs by CKY, it's kind of scary how short this album's runtime is, and how many tracks I would still omit or skip on any subsequent playthroughs. But on the other hand, it felt good to re-listen to a few of these songs that I have not heard in quite a long time, and it gives me, of course, that classic old nostalgia chub that we all enjoy.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
If you've enjoyed this content, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to us, and stay notified for future music-related content because it keeps our manager happy at the end of the day. We are also on Discord, Instagram, Facebook, and all those other social platforms if you want to check us out. As always, people, you have a great day and stay spicy.